Hello and welcome to another Starfield episode here on the Mole RP channel. My name is Chaos Mole, and today we want to take a look at how evil can you be with the factions in Starfield. Now, before we are jumping into the tier list and going through all the factions we are knowing of right now, there are a few things I have to make very clear before we do this. First things first, all the information we have here is based on interviews, the Starfield Direct, and other trailers for Starfield. Because the reality is that nobody outside of Bethesda has seen or played the game, and Xbox of course, has seen or played the game since the Starfield Direct. So those are the information which are available to us right now. And that means things are missing. Things might change. Things are maybe not correct anymore when the game is coming out. And you might immediately ask, why even make this video then? Because I think it's a fun exercise, and I'm actually kind of curious also what you think, like which factions will be pretty good for your evil playthrough. Are you planning an evil playthrough? Those kind of things, because, well, those are the topics we can actually talk about right now, because they are not too bad to talk about, even if they're changing at release. Second, what is evil? Well, evil for me, at least, for this tier list and for the things we will talk about, is the faction needs an intent, right? They are actually planning to take over the galaxy, to enslave humanity, to kill a lot of people, and do a lot of things which are, well, against the law, but where you as a human being at least could say, yeah, you know what? This sounds pretty bad, and this sounds like a lot of people will suffer just for your own gain, right? I think that is how I see evil here when I created the list. So it is of course debatable, but that is what you are getting here in the video. Now, the next point, and this is actually already getting into the whole tier list of evilness, let's talk about being evil in Bethesda game, because being evil in Bethesda games has been around since the early days, but I think we can all agree, being real evil in Bethesda games, you cannot really be that. Yeah, you can be a dick to certain people. Yes, you can murder all the people around you, which, frankly speaking, is quite evil, right? But you never really had the chance to become like the emperor and become like an evil necromancer and taking over everything. It happened in your head most of the times when you were going for an evil playthrough in a Bethesda game, right? Like, even in games like Fallout 4 is a wonderful example, there is no real evil faction you can join. The only real evil faction are the Raiders. But you cannot join the Raiders, right? And all the other factions like have some sort of meaning behind it. Like even the Institute, which wants to swap out all the humans with sins because they believe that sins will be just a better choice in the future, have their reasons and their meanings, which, yes, is sort of evil because they want to eradicate all of humanity for that. And I would definitely count them into the evil category. But super evil, right? Debatable, right? So that is my point here. Like, evilness in Bethesda games is debatable for most times, and in most dialogue options, you are really just choosing to be an asshole to the person and not doing something nefarious, doing something evil in the end. But with that said, let's jump into the tier list, shall we? So the first faction I want to take a look at is the United Colonies, and I think the United Colonies will be pretty much a no-brainer in this case, because the United Colonies is the first big faction you will meet by playing Starfield, and they are also the most powerful faction in the settled systems, and everything we know about them so far makes them look good, right? They have an elected officials, they are democracy, they take care of their people, they are very open-minded, they follow the laws they have enacted, and so on and so forth. Like, they seem to be like the standard government in a democratic country. right? So I don't really see something evil in the United Colonies itself. And yes, there might be some single characters or some smaller factions inside the UC space which you will probably see being as evil. But will you be able to foster them? Will you be able to join them to overthrow the government and become the new dictator of the UC space? I have to admit, I highly doubt that, because it seems like that every major planet or even like smaller planets who join the United Colonies are doing so because they want to follow the rules. I want to have a government, right? There are just a lot of things where okay, there might be some issues here and there are debatable like decisions they have been making and all that. But truly evil? Nah, they are not evil at all, right? So for me, this makes this pretty simple if we are opening up the tier list for the first time. And you can see we have super evil, evil, a bit evil, maybe evil, and no evil whatsoever. And for me, this is pretty simple. The United Colonies are not evil whatsoever. Like, there is no evilness here. And if you want to become the evil space emperor, the United Colonies will probably not be your best bet. Let's be real here. With that said, let's move on to the next faction, and that is the Freestar Collective. So the Freestar Collective is the second biggest faction in Starfield, and you will probably meet them pretty early on. They're basically the counterpart to the United Colonies, who just love small government, who love to have the people handle most of the day-to-day stuff, and they love their personal freedoms more than anything else. But with that said, those people still have a lot of laws, and they do follow them. And yes, there might be some duels in like an Old West style happening in the Freestar Collective, but nonetheless, there are a lot of laws to follow through, and it seems like they are enforcing those laws quite strictly. So if at best they are more like neutral lawful or lawful neutral, right? And they are not really evil. I also don't really see the Freestar Collective to become this powerhouse where you are trying to go for becoming like as I said, the evil emperor of Starfield, right? I don't really see the Freestar Collective helping you in that endeavor. There might be some smugglers here and there where they are turning a blind eye, sure, but if they are still catching you and let's say you're not paying the bribe or whatever they do, they will enforce the law on you. So are they evil? No, definitely not. Definitely not. I'm sorry, but the Freestar Collective, for me at least, is not evil, and they will not help you on that endeavor. Now, with that said, inside the Freestar Collective space, there is a city called Neon. You might have already heard about this. Neon was once a city which was built on a water planet, and they were doing like a lot of fishing and all that. And then they realized, hey, wait a minute, let's do something else here. And they basically became a pleasure city. You know, drugs, mental pleasures, body pleasures, everything is about pleasures, and who has the money has the say in that city, it seems like. Money makes things right, and the government, quote unquote, in Neon City is very much focused on one thing alone, and that is keeping things going. To be frank here, I see Neon City more like a drug cartel, right? They are dealing in all those illegal substances. They are definitely doing like a lot of shady stuff, and it seems like they are not afraid of actually like even killing people, right? We have seen some of the footage where they are not holding back, where they are outright murder people if need be, and things are being then put under the rug, and they're just like pretending nothing happens as long as the money is right. So this is actually the very first area, and even though this is part of the Freestar Collective, where I do believe that they are more fitting in the evil category, right? Like for them, their pleasure city, the drugs, and the money is more important to them than anything else. Like human lives, whatever, doesn't count. There will be others, right? But they're ignoring the law and they're doing everything to get more money. So technically speaking, if you want to become the space emperor, right, to just go with that trope for now, you could just spend a lot of money there and you could probably get on their good side and they would probably support you in your endeavor as long as it benefits them. So, yes, I would totally say that they are a bit evil. I wouldn't totally put them into the evil category, right? But I definitely see that they are a bit evil, and it thinks this is where they're fitting right into. Now, depending on how much we are finding out playing the game, I might even put them into the evil category, but for now, they are staying in a bit evil. The next faction I want to talk about is an interesting one, and that is the Red Mile. Now, we don't even know if the Red Mile is a full-on faction or just something you can visit and do some stuff for, but we don't even know exactly what the Red Mile is, right? They made it very clear that they seem to be very shady in what they are doing, and they are not part of the United Colonies or the Freestar Collective, and we don't exactly know what they are doing, but the whole demeanor they have been showing, the voice lines we have been seeing, like some of the cutscenes we have been seeing about the Red Mile, doesn't really make it look like that the Red Mile is a sunshine place. And people have been speculating what they are doing, that they are a casino, that they might do some races. I actually believe that they are just smugglers who do like all the smuggle stuff in Starfield, right? If you want to do some like missions for them and you want to smuggle wares from A to B, then the Red Mile seems to be the way to go. And it also seems like they are not stopping from making people disappear if they are not following the Red Mile rules. But would I really say that they are evil? Not necessarily, right? It's this, yeah, we are smuggling goods, which is definitely not following the law, but we are doing this to give people like some extra money. We don't really have ulterior motives. We don't have an end goal besides of making money by just, let's say, doing some smuggling, or even if they are a casino or something like that, they're just there for making some money on the side, but they're not really striving for anything bigger, for anything else. So I truly believe that the Red Mile is actually not something evil, and if they are, maybe we have to play more to figure out that they are evil, but at this point at least, I would say, nah, the Red Mile is not evil at all, but I will put them under maybe evil. Maybe evil, and if so, it's more like a, yeah, we are not following the law kind of evil, but that's all, right? We are breaking the law on a daily basis, but that's all we are doing. So, yeah, I put them for sure under maybe evil. Now, the next thing we have to talk about are the snake people. And if you're like, the snake people, who is this again? So this is the House of Varun. I assume that's how it's spelled. Please excuse me if I misspelled it. But yeah, I think it's called the House of Varun. And the House of Varun is a dangerous cult of fanatical religious zealots in Starfield. And they're worshipping the Great Serpent, right? They believe that the whole universe will be devoured by the Great Serpent, whatever that is. You can see the statue here in the background. And they are a hostile faction, but we have already seen that you can interact with them, and depending on your background, you can actually start as a follower of the House of Varun. And also very interesting, they are a faction which is settled outside of the settled system in Starfield. So, as you know, Starfield is playing in the settled systems only, right? That's the whole area we have to play with. And the House of Varun is not there. They're coming from outside, right? So they are the first faction which seems to play a major plot role in Starfield, but we don't really have their HQ in the area where Starfield plays. It reminds me a little bit of the like the Assassin's Guild a little bit in the Elder Scrolls games, right? Which have like all their outposts all over Tamriel, but they're not really like there most of the time. Their HQ is somewhere completely else, and this is what the House of Varun is reminding me of. But with that said, I totally believe that the House of Varun is super evil. Like, they believe that the galaxy will be devoured by the Great Serpent, and they will do everything their leaders are telling them. They are killing people who are not believing them, who are not following them, and they are doing a lot of shady stuff to, well, basically end the galaxy as we know it. So for me, the House of Varun is, I would say, the prime location if you want to do an evil playthrough, right? Like, everything you hear about them sounds like, oh yeah, we are the bad guys, and we are a faction you can meet and interact with. And so I would put the House of Varun under super evil. This is a pretty easy choice for me, and I assume a lot of people have seen this coming. But nonetheless, like, yeah, the House of Varun will be your best starting point if you want to become evil, because it seems like they are like a doomsday cult who wants to take over the galaxy or wants to destroy the galaxy, which, in my opinion at least, is pretty evil. Now, let's talk about the last faction, and that is, of course, the Crimson Fleet. Now, the Crimson Fleet is a bit like the Raider faction in Fallout, right? Like, they are the space pirates. They're flying around, and they are taking ships, they are taking wares, they're killing people. They are not the friendly bunch, to say the least. And the moment you hear about the Red Fleet, the Crimson Fleet, not the Red Fleet, the Crimson Fleet, my bad. The Crimson Fleet, you think, oh yeah, they're evil, right? Like, they are super evil. I actually think that this would be the prime faction if you want to become evil. You see, you might think that, but I am not sure, because you will be able to interact with them. It seems like you will be able to join them, but they also sound like they are more like rebels. They are against the United Colonies, they are against the Free Star Collective, because they're just some people who decided we are now the government and we are now in control of the settled systems. And the Crimson Fleet seems to be opposed against that. Now, with that said, if there would just be a rebel faction, right, we could say like, yeah, okay, they're kind of trying to overthrow the government and try to maybe establish a better one or whatever. But in reality, they do kill a lot of innocent people. They do rob a lot of ships. They do destroy a lot of things. And even if they have like an ulterior motive, which might be good, we don't know, probably not. But even if that is like their end goal to do something good, they do a lot of bad things and made a lot of people suffer on the way. So, long story short, I believe that the Crimson Fleet, isn't it the same? The Crimson Fleet is evil. Yes, I do believe the Crimson Fleet is evil in the end. And again, we might find out about their ulterior motives at some point, right? And we might find out that, hey, actually, we have some good goals here and we want to make it work. But at least for now, it's, yeah, they are pretty much evil in that regard. But the House of Varun is definitely the most evil station you can end up with. And then Neon, which is part of the Freestar Collective, so it will be interesting to see how that goes, is a bit evil. The Red Mile might be evil, but so far from what we know, I doubt it. They definitely break the laws whenever they can, right? They definitely do that. And they are not affiliated with any of the big factions in Starfield. And then United Colonies and Freestar Collective, they have their problems, but they are not evil by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, this is my tier list for Starfield on where you can be quite evil. And I will be honest, I will probably do my first playthrough on the House of Varun or the Crimson Fleet. Those will be my first go-to parties when I do my first playthrough of the game, which you will be able to watch on my live stream, which you will find down below in the video description. I also might upload it on my playthrough channel. If you're interested, you will also find that down below in the video description, and make sure to check them out. But with that said, we are at the end of the video. Please don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We are doing much more Starfield videos coming up in the next few days and weeks. We already have quite a bunch here on the channel. There will also be a new Starfield podcast I'm starting next week, so make sure to check that out as well. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the support. I hope I see you with the next episode. Until then, stay safe. Bye bye.